Hello. This is Aarnimetsa from pokerimania.com, and today we are having quite a special evening. I'm having some problems with live play, so we are trying to have a bit of a different night this time. So this is going to be our second guerrilla coaching night. And this means that you have a possibility of getting like a 30-minute look on your hands in your games. And I'd say that there is about 4 minutes time to send me a hand history. And you can see here the address where there are some help on how to send your hand histories. And there is also, you can also see it from our forum site quite easily. So I'm already having some hand histories here, and as I put in this that we are going to have some benefits for those that are active bloggers, because I think that active bloggers are going to be probably more interesting for rest of the community members. And when we have gotten some, let's say 21:07 finish time, so there is still 3 minutes time to send me your hands. So and then there's going to be about 3 minutes time to shout out in our chat that you are going to take part in the raffle. This is because usually in these kind of situations that there are going to be free coaching, there is still, when it's free, people don't show up. So I'm going to demand that at least. So we are back with the first hand history of our guerrilla coaching night. This is Aarnimetsa from pokerimania.com, and we are taking a look at member Danitah's hand history, and this is going to be an interesting hand history as we are going to take a look at the 45-player SNG's final table. And this tournament has been played yesterday, so it's going to be quite fresh. And we are going to instantly start taking a look at this hand history. And we are starting with the first hand, and the first hand is going to be slightly interesting. I think this should be a shove pretty much always. Ace and a weak card, shoving should be plus EV option, and when we are seeing all 5 cards with ace 5, and these guys' ranges should be wide enough that we should have plenty of hands that we are ahead with ace 5 off. So, and Danita has shoved, very good. And let's go to the next hand. This is going to be a playable hand as well, but not against a race, so that's a good fold as well. And I don't think that this limp matters much because the stack size is going to be so low. And I think ace 8 off is going to be when there are 4 players behind. Even though this guy takes out all the antes, I think that ace 8 off is going to be a shovable hand, especially with 8 big blinds. And this is going to be a shove as well. And we can see that our opponent limped with king 7, but it's actually well played if he limps with anything, because he's going to 1/3 of his stack is going to go all in, or is going to go in the ante already. And when the big blind hits him, he's going to have then less chances of winning it big. So I think it's good play even with deuce 3 off for this Julian J-boy to go all in. Queen deuce off, not going to be a playable hand, and it's. I don't know if this is interesting enough if we are going to agree with all of Danita's moves, but King 5 off, also a really good fold. Something like, I think, something like most suited aces, then something like ace 9 off, ace 10 off, we could shove here. And deuce 4 off, it's going to be quite horrible as we are on the big blind. But we are going to probably get some equity here when Corleone just limps. And it's very good for us to realize some equity here, even though it's not a lot, because we are having deuce 4 off, which is one of the worst hands to play. In this situation that we are having some showdown equity, I don't like a donk here, so I hope that Danita would just check here. I think we can call one street for sure with deuce 4. I think it's going to be quite close because with the pair of fours, we are likely going to get some higher cards later on, so. And this is not from the final table already. Okay, that's good information, because if we are looking at ICM, then it's going to have some bad implications if we are not in the final table already. And you can comment on the Twitch chat and on the Pokeramania chat. Because of the space on the screen, I'm only having our chat open, but I'm also having the Twitch chat open, so I can look at it as well. And check is good if the idea is to check call, even though this is kind of good hit for thinking players limping range, but this is a $1.5 45 men, so I don't think that our opponent would be a thinking player. And Callion says that he doesn't mind to check fold flop. I think in general opponents, when they have limped and you have checked to them, they are going to bet too often that, and they are mostly going only for one barrel when they haven't hit anything, so I'm thinking that calling will be quite good. And now that we got the deuce as well, and the flop goes check check, now I think it's quite mandatory to bet, and we could go for somewhere around 600 to 900 chips. I think we can go a bit higher, because if we are getting value, I think we can get a bit higher value in this, and if we are not getting value, then I don't see that we are getting value even with a min bet here. 600 is about 50% of the pot, and usually I say that if you don't know what to bet, you can't go much wrong in tournaments by going with 50%. And we got a fold. A bit sad, but as I said, that we could realize our equity for free, and that's usually something that you don't like to have your opponent do. Pretty easy fold, and we are trying to keep the tempo high, so, and when there is one caller already, then it's going to be an easy fold. Easy, it should be an easy fold. And should be an easy fold. Sometimes these, when you are having almost full table of players, sometimes these hands are looking to be a bit boring, because usually it's going to be easy fold. And Callion says that hand cannot take much more heat without improving. Yeah, I agree. There are lots of cards that are ugly. I don't agree with that much, that there are a lot of cards that are ugly. Rather that there are just not that many good cards for us. And even air-type hands have decent equity. Yeah, they have decent equity, but we are still ahead of air-type hands. I think like if you are thinking about that kind of situation when you are on the flop with a weak pair, it's going to be way different if you are against opponents that are generally when they can bet with multiple streets with air, because then you are going to get punished by calling too much. But I think like what I'm thinking about the $1.5 general player in these games, I'm going to think that those are probably not those are probably not aggressive enough with air type hands. And I think that it's going to be quite likely that we can get a cheap showdown even against one bet on the flop. And of course, if we are check folding the flop, like in this 4 deuce 4 situation. No, it was the deuce 4 a bit earlier. We are folding the flop if opponent, for example, bets a full pot, because I think usually a full pot would be a stronger hand in general. And Legion is, you don't have to register for paste bin. I think that and it doesn't matter if it's paste bin or if it's something else that where you can just get the text file in that doesn't brutalize it. I think that you can paste your files on pastebin without registering there. And 6-10 suited. This is a hand that we like if we can realize our equity for free. I wouldn't be shoving this at any point, but if we can get a chance to realize equity for free, I think checking is going to be an optimal move here. That's well played. In general, I don't like betting flop with trips because nobody folds on those flops. This is like Aarnimetsa's one of those short wisdoms. Nobody ever folds if the board is trips. So, and when nobody ever folds, then bluffing doesn't make that much sense. And now that there is also one higher card, if you are getting any heat, just fold. And just, I'm thinking that on the river we could do a small bet like 800 here, because I don't think with 10 high we are going to win the pot that often, and I think that opponent might even give up some of his good high card hands. But it's going to be really close. Like, I don't think checking or betting small on the river does have that much difference. And when we are betting on the river, I'm either liking something like 1000 chips because I think it looks generally a bit I think it looks stronger, and there is a psychological reason for people like all of the supermarket chains. They are playing so well in the human psychology that when there's a four-figure number, it looks always bigger, even though factually there is not that much of a difference. And so all of this stuff you can buy from a market would be like 399 euros. So I think this is a point that if you are going close to 1000, you should go to 1000 or more. And if you are betting small, like 600 or 700 here, I think you can save chips. And I think you are going to get about the equal fold equity. Yeah, I think that King X and 10x hands might fold here. I don't know if this is today is a bad time to have a Guerrilla coaching, as there is the like $1 million Sunday storm going on at the same time. But we'll see. And in this situation, I'm thinking that when an opponent min raises, it's going to be a waste if we are not shoving it in here. So I hope to see a shove here. And we saw a shove here. He might be strong. Actually, queen 4 off is really weak hand that I'm a bit surprised to see here. But I think thus far Danita has played really well, and now we are getting to the final table already. And when there is a raise, and it's a sizable raise on early on, queen 10 is going to be a snap fold. And king 6 also against the raise, it's going to be a snap fold. I think this is going to be a playable hand that we could min raise, even when there is a player with such a short stack that will always get it in. But I think that king jack off is going to be just a bit too strong. Bit too strong to fold here, so I think it would be a bit of a better equity to just min raise here. And Danita says that you are always expecting kings plus when somebody min raises 5 big blind stack. I think that's also going to be a good trick to add to your arsenal, to sometimes min raise with a short stack, because it hides your stack size quite well, and someone multi-tabling is going to he's going to hate you. Because when you are min raising, you are not giving your opponent easy visibility to your stack size. That when you are shoving, you are giving your opponent like there's two different buttons, either you fold or you call, and usually that's going to be quite easy for your opponent to know that, hey, now I'm against a short stack and I need to calculate how many percentages I need here. But if you are min raising with something like 4 or 5 big blinds, I think that your fold equity might be even a bit better than with a shove. So there's an interesting non-linear behavior, I think. And as Callion says that king jack off is going to be just a question of min raise or shoving, in my opinion. I would like shoving if, like, in general, what I'm thinking about these games, that we are not getting 3-bet that often. So, and when we are not getting 3-bet that often, I'm thinking that min raising is going to be better here. And I don't like a fold at all. And we could actually take a look at this hand quickly with Hold'em Resources calculator, that if we just count this as a shove or fold, what would be the opportunity? And we are having the 45 minutes price structure already. And I think that Callion might even be correct in that this might also be a good shove. Good shove as well. And if we are thinking that our opponents are playing like they should be playing, then king jack off is going to be slightly minus EV. And I think it's because then it's going to be easier for these large stacks to play correctly. And the king jack off, it's going to be better if this Cassie deal calls wider, but it's going to be worse if this Stickleback and Toliani are going to call wider than this. And in general, I think that this 8 Stickleback and Toliani are going to call wider than just pocket jacks. I think like pocket nines and ace queen is going to be, it's going to be too pretty looking hand for an average $1.5 final table opponent to fold. So I think actually that folding is better than shoving, but I think that min raising is better than either of those. And we get like 2 limps. This might be interesting to see. And we got 3 min bets, and usually with this kind of a line I would see not a top pair but a medium pair for our opponent. No, there is a good top pair. And I think he lost a small bit of value there, because he could have gotten it all in with his opponent by betting bigger. Excellent fold. And this is going to be an excellent fold as well. And this is played to perfection, gotten the blinds. And if this is a shove, I think that's great. And everything else is not going to be that great, but it's a shove. I think this fold is going to be okay. Against nits, I think that you might even... Against nits, I think you could even try to min raise pretty much everything from the button, but I don't think that these guys are going to be needy enough. Like the point in min raising at that spot, I can try to go for it with an advanced hand. Advanced hand, and let's go a 3-bet calculation. It might take a moment, so I'd rather take the basic hand calculation. Like when we are against better hands, like the hands from the two largest stacks in the king jack hand, we are going to lose less than what our equity share would be if we min raise instead of shoving. So when they are having great hands, we are losing a bit less. And when they are having good hands, we can just raise fold. And in this situation, king queen off, it's going to be a min raise or a shove here. And reason I'd like a min raise here, actually it could also be a limp here. I'm thinking that if these guys are tight enough to be min raise folding, and for shoving this is a really nasty spot because there is not the usual size of the big blind in here. And I think min raise is going to be good. Probably min raise fold because these guys seem to be call happy. And when they're call happy, I don't actually mind them calling that much in that situation. Because against one of these guys we are going to have position and we are going to have hand that plays pretty well against passive callers. So I think it's going to play pretty fine. Jack 7 suited, not good enough. And Legianis said that pastebin is loading for something like 6 minutes. If anyone has another idea of something that you can just without registration paste something in, please tell me, or please tell in our chat what's going to be the path of least resistance. Might be because also when I was retrieving Danita's hand history, pastebin took quite a while. And Kaleon says that probably one of the main reasons why shove was not profitable, though, I think one of the main reasons is that ICM is going to be quite harsh in that situation. And when we are shoving with the third largest stack or fourth largest stack against two larger stacks, we are going to be pretty risk averse. And when we are pretty risk averse in the situation, then our opponents can't call us that much. And when our opponents can't call us that much, usually in these small stakes MTT sit and goes, I think usually it's going to be that opponents are playing with quite static ranges and they are not thinking about the situation enough. And when they are not thinking about the situation enough, then they are going to... When the opponents are not going to think about the situation enough, they are not going to be tight enough in that spot. And we are again getting an opportunity to realize some equity for free. I think that's also one of the great things to note, that when we are going to have situations when we can realize equity for free, this is going to be pretty good for us. And this is also why we don't want to be limping early on, because then like this Cassie deal is going to open him or herself up for some exploitation by people that are shoving on top of that limp, because now it makes the pot even juicier to shove. And also they are going to, like, this is a hand that if he would even min raise, you are not going to think about calling it here. And in these kind of situations, then it's going to be also close. I like this idea that we are checking, but I like the idea more if we are not seeing a non-heart 4 or 8 or 10 on the turn. I would like to have an idea of going for a small bet on the turn. But I think on the flop that's pretty much the optimal thing to do. And one of the options would be to try to steal the pot away. But I think that now we have more knowledge on our opponent, and even though we get a gut shot straight draw here, I'm thinking that even though we have equity here, I'm thinking that it would be better to try to steal the pot in here. And like, I think in this case, when our opponent pretty much telegraphs us that he doesn't have a good hand, when he has limped and he has checked the flop, when he telegraphs us it, we should be receiving the information. And I think that this is one of those spots that if we are receiving that information, we are going to go for a turn bluff, as we are not going to win that pot that often. And we can go for something like 1,200 chips here, like 40% of the pot. I'm thinking that in general opponents are mostly limping medium cards, so I don't even think that the board hits our opponent's range that hard. And now when our opponent bets, we pretty much have to fold. So with a gotcha straight draw and 2 undercards, it's not going to be good enough. And in this case, I'm actually thinking about pretty much everything. I think that min raising would probably be the best thing to do here. I'm liking min raising more because I think a general opponent will fold too much to a min raise. And also he will fold too much on the flop c-bet, so I'm thinking that we are turning this hand into a bluff rather than going for a limp here. And I don't think that this is going to be profitable as a shove, but I think that even when we are having only 11 big blinds, this would be an excellent hand to min raise. Excellent play. Like, thus far it has been a boring session because Danita has been playing or agreeing with my lines at least. So, and queen 10 off, I think this is going to be one of the more interesting type of hands. I'm thinking that this hand has a lot of equity if we are shoving it, and it doesn't have, we don't like to raise call here, so we are trying to get the most fold equity we can, and we'll get it by shoving here. And we don't care about calls that much in this spot, because this hand is going to benefit more by seeing all the 5 cards. So shove here rather than min raise, I think. Because when one of these opponents shoves, you are going to be hating it. And even if they call and you are with an overcard or two undercards, it's going to be a hard thing to play. And in here, effectively, we are not even that deep. Like we are 10 tournament adjusted big blinds deep, so the pot will be plenty big to just get stolen or just get stealing the pot. Because what you steal early on in the tournament, you are owning it later on in the tournament. And I think that I'm going to pretty much suck at keeping stuff short, because I'm seeing that our calculator is closing in on 30 minutes already. And this ace queen suited, I think it's going to be a better hand to get raised, so min raise here, because it's going to have really solid flops, and also you wanna get your opponents in a bit looser. So you are not going for the most fold equity here. So I think that this is probably a bit better if you are min raising this rather than shoving. We get it in against this guy that was all in. And even though he had the devil's number, he still didn't get through. This is going to be a nasty one. Like, we are really short. Only 7.4 big blinds effectively. Opponent just min raises, and we are having a medium strength hand. Actually, let's go see that how wide our opponent would need to raise here to make this profitable. I'm thinking that it's going to be about 40%. So but this should be quick as there is only 3 players to worry about. If an opponent opens with 23%, then it would be profitable to shove 26%, which doesn't include ace-7, and then our opponent would need to fold half of his range that he's raising with, and I don't think that it's going to ever be plus EV here. So if this is a fold, it's going to be a good fold. And also, now there is the hand that if we are looking at it as a min raise or shove hand, and if we are looking at it as a min raise hand, this is the king jack off hand. So there is like Danita is in the middle position with king jack with about 17 big blinds, and there are 2 big stacks and there is 1 really short stack, but the really short stack is actually sitting out. So let's see that if this guy always folds. And I think that these guys are not going to be 3-betting as much as they could. I'm thinking that in general players in these games they're probably going to 3-bet a bit more of these pocket pairs. And this guy that's on the big blind, he's not going to bet 70% of the time, even though that would be great. And this is one of those things that Hold'em Resources calculator, when it calculates like the optimal ranges, it might not look anything like real life. And the problem why it doesn't look anything like real life is going to be that I don't it sees everything. So every time you make a strategy adjustment, like Hold'em Resources calculator, it knows about the strategies and the counter strategies of every player on the table. So every time you change a strategy, the people are going to or the strategies are going to be moved, and every player knows the range of the other player's range. And in real life that doesn't happen. You don't know the range of your opponents for sure. And this practically sucks a bit. Now we have gotten a range that also doesn't make any sense. When we are putting our opponents to be tighter, then we are getting a range that we should be raising with any two cards, which I think is going to be too wide. But King Jack off is going to be. This is one of those situations that we would need to. And also, Hold'em Resources Calculator can't give us the perfect answer. Like, I think that this Toliani is going to. I think that he's going to flat call us way more often than he's going to be 3-bet shove us, but there is not a great way to model it. Model it in Hold'em Resources Calculator, because even if you are putting it in that you can. Even if you are putting it in that you can call, then it always thinks that hands are going to be checked to the river. And in general, there you are risking more, and in ICM heavy situations, the ranges are going to be way too wide. And as Kaleon says on the chat, that big stacks will sometimes call, which is harder to take into account. Exactly. But I think that, like, in the hand, the King Jack off is going to be a profitable min raise, but not a profitable shove. And this was a great fold, I think. And this is one of those spots. I'm thinking that this might be a profitable shove. Now there's a question. Is it? Let's see. And this is one of those things that it's going to be an easy to look at, and this would be exactly break even if opponents are calling correctly. And when we are looking at the correct calling ranges, I think that they're going to look pretty. They're going to look like what I'm thinking an average opponent would call there. So in general, I think that I would go for a shove here. I think there's some hidden equity also to get a really big stack in this spot. So. And we are not risking that much. We are not out even if they are calling. And this is a question that do we want to min raise or shove? With guys this tight, I would opt for a lot of min raises, but I think that this is one of those hands that's going to be. This is probably a hand that's going to be. It's going to play better if we shove it, because with the ICM situation with this guy almost all in, if like this guy shoves and this guy folds, we would probably be inclined to fold this, and I think shoving would be better. And this is a great shove. How many hands do we have remaining? Like a ton of hands remaining. Let's see, how many hand histories have I gotten? So I have gotten at least 2 hand histories more. Let's say that we are going to go through Danita's hands for at least 10 o'clock. But 21:57 there is going to be a point that I'm going to require the players to have sent their hand histories to me already, and then point out in the chat that they want to take part in the raffle. So now there's going to be still 5 more minutes. I think this is one of those hands that probably plays better as a min raise and fold against these two guys and call against this guy. But shoving wouldn't be horrible. I think that folding this is probably the worst move. And we are getting called with the shortest stack. We don't win it, but we played well. And this is an easy fold. I think this is going to be a hand that we would love to overshove with, because King Jack off is going to be solid enough hand to play, even if there is a possibility that this guy calls, because there is going to be like the pot odds are going to be great if we are matching up against this 8 stickleback. And great shove, and this guy runs really well against us, which always pretty much sucks. And 10 deuce off, good fold. This is a good fold. This is a good fold. If someone plays this hand, this would be a good fold, but this is even better. There is probably nothing better than 3 big blinds. This should be a shove. I think that in this spot, we can pretty much play about 100% of the hands against a general opponent, and there will be some hands that we want to min raise, some hands that we want to limp, and some hands that we want to shove. And I don't think that against a general tight-looking opponent that I would want to fold any hand in this spot. I would like to min raise call some part of my range, min raise fold the worst crap, then something like the low medium strength hands I would like to limp here, that are like they are not good enough to shove here, but they are still having okayish equity. And then the medium strength hands I would mostly be shoving here. I just think that when we are having a general tight opponent, we can exploit him by utilizing the whole arsenal of our moves in this situation. And this is going to be a good shove. So there is 2 minutes remaining to send me your hand histories. And tens, easy shove. Like, I think pocket queens would be better to min raise, but pocket queens or pocket jacks. But pocket tens is going to be, I think it's going to be best played always by shoving here. Some easy hands. This is an easy fold against the, this is really easy fold. And now we also, this is noteworthy stuff. This guy opens from the button with about 3 big blind sizing, and he folds to a shove when he's effectively 7.2 tournament adjusted big blinds deep. That's something that you want to have a note on, that an opponent may raise fold with a small stack. Legianis, I'll take that into account. And this will be an easy fold. I'm seeing a lot of opportunities to get it all in with pocket sixes, and this is an easy shove. And it was an easy shove. And Danita made a note, so I think you are playing pretty close to perfection. Like, there are some spots that I'm disagreeing with you, that how you are min raising or shoving, and there was the one spot that I think that you could have gotten the pretty sizable pot by just being a bit more aggressive post flop. Excellent shove with queen, ace queen suited. I think that when we are about 6.5 tournament adjusted big blinds deep, against a general opponent, shoving becomes really good. And shoving about any 2 cards. I think I like this shove a lot. I think that we are going to gain a lot of chips by this. Even though this is not a Nash shove. And 4-way pot in the final table. This is something that's going to be awfully awesome. And Legianis said that, I sacrifice myself to you because I don't watch Somerville's stream. Like, why would you watch it? Because PokerStars has problems today anyway. And we see no action post-flop, and the only guy that hits the flop has been Toljanich. Pocket tens, easy shove. Even though this guy, that's the largest stack, shoves, I'm thinking that his range cannot be tight enough for us not to get it all in with pocket tens or better. Also, any ace king, I would just get it in, even against this guy. And now we need to take a look at this. And now there is, if you have sent me a hand history, there is 3 minutes time to put your comment on the chat. 3 minutes starting from now. And we are going to look at this final hand for Danita. And Legianis, I think with the 3 to-dos offhand, I think that the general player just folds so much in those small blind against big blind situations. Like the Nash situation probably makes the big blind to call with 50% plus of hands, but in general, I'm seeing that people are calling shoves with something like 25% in these low level situations, which makes shoving any 2 hands. And Kaleon says that Ace King is good enough. No idea if I see him in these. I think Ace King would be good enough in these. And this is actually pretty awesome. If opponent shoves 51.6%, then pocket tens is break even. Let's see what I'm thinking about that. I think that our opponent shoves pretty much any pretty hand. So if our opponent shoves any pretty hand, what's going to be the best response? It's going to be pocket queens plus. Whoa. So actually, Danita, that was a great fold. That's really well played. And as a whole, I think that it's going to be. I think that if we are concluding Danita's session here, I think that Danita plays really solid. And there might be some opportunities that if you are thinking about the opponent's lines, that you can spot some weak lines and attack some postal lines. But this is from one exact hand. And I'm thinking that there's probably something to like try to think about how well you are hitting a flop with some hand, and do you wanna rather min raise and sometimes get flatted and see a flop, or do you want to shove? Like, is your hand one hand that benefits for seeing every 5 card that's coming? Mostly like if we are having like general ideas like small to medium pocket pairs, they're always benefiting of having a lot of cards, and something like queen ten off that we had, it benefits a lot if we can see every 5 cards. It's not strong enough to, like, we are basically shoving hands that are not strong enough to raise call and also are too strong to raise fold. And now we are having a competition between Legianis and Ilari27. And this is going to be random. So we are taking a raffle here. So there's a list randomizer. Do we have bloggers that are actively blogging to our site here? Actually, I don't remember Legianis, so I'm thinking about, do we have a blog post in during the last month. If we don't, then it's going to be not a blogger bonus. And I'm actually unsure. I think Ilari has blogged on our Finnish site, but I'm unsure. Probably not during the last month. Nope, not during the last month, so no blogger bonus to either one of those. So now it's going to be the time. Randomize. And it's going to be Ilari 27's hand history that we are going to take a look at. And there is no point for Legianis to go away, because you can take part of the second raffle after we have looked at Ilari 27's hand history. And there is still going to be time for you to post your hand histories to me. And now we are going to take about 5 minutes break. We are going to be back at 22:10 when I have downloaded and gotten the Ilari 27's hands on my computer, that we can look them through.